Hello everyone, Jarek Defiler, the Patient Gamer here to rant a little bit about why it pays to be a patient gamer. Over the past several years, gamers have been burned and burned hard on botched major AAA titles. From bug-ridden releases to failed fulfilled promises, gamers have pre-ordered and early accessed their way into a frustrating cesspool of poor industry standards. And let's be honest, it's our own damn fault, because apparently gamers never learn. If one continues to give major gaming corporations money for subpar products, the corporations will continue to make said subpar products. It's science. So I'm here to help remind my gaming sistren and brethren of the woes of pre-ordering, as well as buying games on release while uninformed. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think there is anything inherently wrong with buying games on release or supporting early access titles for some indie studios. However, the problem is that we as gamers often fail to do our due diligence and research the game before we take the leap. That said, I do believe that pre-ordering is always a bad thing and harms the industry as a whole. When you pre-order, you basically give the studio all the incentive to half-ass a project. Because why bother stressing out perfecting a game when you can just release it in a crappy state and maybe patch it later, due to already having the customer's money? Sorry, no refunds. And it doesn't take much to look into a game, especially a huge AAA title. Yes, you are often manipulated with fancy, hyped cinematic trailers that don't actually show any game footage. You're given developer blogs and interviews that highlight all the cool features and graphics that are supposedly going to be implemented in the game, but at the end of the day, no one's played it. Most AAA studios don't hand out demos or betas anymore. The gameplay critics are allowed to partake in are generally molded to be a small piece of the entire game that they actually put some effort into that doesn't properly represent the game as a whole. Not to mention the airtight NDAs they force everyone to sign. It's no surprise that you can't really trust the marketing team of these big studios. So what can you do? Well, for starters, take to heart the term caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. It is your responsibility to do your due diligence and really pay attention to how the developers and their marketing teams are trying to persuade you. This doesn't mean you go into every prospect of a purchase thinking that the studio is this evil entity out to rip you off like EA. But it just means keep your eyes and ears open, look at the details, and make an informed decision for yourself. This is something that many gamers, mostly casuals, seem to struggle with. We get caught up in the hype, too excited for our own good, and we blow our wallet load all over the studio's faces before the game even has a release date. The media also has blame in this, by giving unfinished and unreleased games at award shows trophies for being best game or most anticipated game, or my personal favorite, best role-playing game, when the game hasn't even finished development and no one has even played a demo. You can't judge a 60+ hour RPG by a cinematic trailer. It's impossible. You also have the issue of the access media. These are the big gaming magazines, corporate YouTube channels, and websites that have infiltrated and wormed their way into the inner circles of major AAA studios. It's often hard to trust their opinion due to them wanting to keep their inner access privileges with the studios, so they can always come back to those cocktail parties. I mean, why would they bash a game that deserves it if it risks pissing off the hand that feeds? Not to say they all do that, but some most definitely do. So you have to find someone you trust, and when you do, latch onto them with claws of fury, because it's hard to get good honest opinions these days. The late great Total Biscuit was my go-to guy back in the day, but now I'm bouncing around between YouTubers. Maybe one day when I can do this full time, I'll be able to attend the conferences and award shows and all that, and actually help the gaming community out more with honest feedback. We'll see. If you guys give a like, share, and subscribe, that dream may come true one day. But I digress. What made me want to make this video is, 1, my channel is mostly a patient gaming channel. Check out my video What is Patient Gaming if you're unfamiliar with the term. And 2, gamers have been hit hard with some AAA flops the last couple of weeks. Mainly with that of Redfall and Star Wars Jedi Survivor, with the latter being more of a flop for PC gamers, which is my camp. Jedi Survivor has been panned with abysmal performance on its PC port, with frame rates being capped at 30 to 40 on rigs that can run the sun. Redfall was completely shat on by customers and YouTubers alike for being a complete joke with piss-poor AI and enemy design, lack of content, texture pop-in, horrible lifeless open world with lackluster, often conflicting progression mechanics, boring missions, and even janky controls among other things. With mostly negative user reviews on Steam, Redfall seems to have little to no redeeming qualities, much like Battlefield 2042 when it came out. So after sitting back and watching the fallout of these two releases, I felt I wanted to give my opinion on why pre-ordering and on-release purchases is a bad idea for the average customer. The age of big studios putting out top-notch bug-free games on release is over. That is now the exception, not the rule. AAA studios have become very corporate, ran by executive boards and committees rather than the developers like days of old. This leads to massive miscommunication, poor focus on vision, and a switch from making great games to the new bottom line: profits for the shareholders. Now, I get it. These are businesses. They are meant to make money. However, when you make that short-term money to the detriment of your product and reputation, you should lose money in the long run. Unfortunately, gamers keep propping up this system by constantly opening their wallets to the sound of the marketing drum. We need to stop. I learned my lesson back in 2012 with the much anticipated release of Diablo 3. For all 4 of you familiar with my channel, you'll know that Diablo 2 is my favorite game of all time. So naturally, when D3 was announced, I jumped on the bandwagon like a drunken cowgirl hopping on a mechanical bull. I was there, standing outside GameStop at midnight, waiting to get my pre-ordered collector's edition with my poster and Diablo head USB figurine. My gaming crew and I were stoked, only to get home and not be able to log in. And then only playing for about a month before quitting because we were bamboozled with a completely different experience that did not hold up to the Diablo name. That was my sign, my omen, my eagle clutching a bloody serpent in its talons. That was the last time I ever pre-ordered a game or bought one on release, and I have been completely satisfied with that philosophy since then. Granted, full disclosure here, I have purchased many games on early access through Steam. However, each one I did my research and they were generally all in early access for over a year. And I don't regret a single one because I did my due diligence. And let's be honest, there are some games that have been in early access since 2016 and still are. So I don't really consider early access to be a new release thing, just like I don't think the McRib will ever be fully retired. That said, I'm not saying to never buy a game on release, but again, just make sure you do your due diligence. We are in the information age, with the internet being an everyday part of all our lives. There really is no excuse to not take a few minutes or an hour or two to just look up some details when it comes to buying new games. Use that beautiful thinker nut in your skull and come to a conclusion that works best for you. So I recommend to you, fellow gamers, to just be cautious, yeah? Don't give in to the hype, don't jump on the bandwagon like so many of us have before. When you see that new flashy trailer that has that main character with some celebrity's raspy voice talking about how they left me for dead, or some lady on the radio telling you what to do.
We got a hit on Hassan.
Watcher to 6 actual. Target is in the main house. You have execute authority.
Priority 1, secure the high-value equipment from the wreckage for extraction. And Priority 2, save the remaining Marines.
Just take it for what it is, a marketing ploy to get your hard-earned dollars. Be patient, wait for some solid feedback either from user reviews or a critic you trust, and vote with your wallet. If you feel the game warrants a purchase, go for it. If not, screw it. Let the studios know you won't be manipulated or lied to. You have the power here, my friends. You just gotta take the time to exercise it. Thanks for watching my rant, much appreciated. Please like, share, and subscribe if you find the video worthy, and hit that notification bell for future videos. This has been Jarek Defiler, the Patient Gamer, sitting back and watching the chaos. You have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night depending on where you are. Game on.